So, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast with me, your host. And today it's going to be more or less a bit of freestyling, since I'm doing my cardio at the time, to get it done, at least to a certain portion that, makes me feel satisfied with. We're going to talk about something, probably about stress and, doing things, getting things done, and worrying. Worry is such a, worry and angst and fear, these are all things that kind of only are not only kind of, but are only in our mind. Really, really often those fears that we're having, those things that we're concerned about, those things that we fear happening, they do not really exist. And there's actually a pretty amazing quote by, as far as I remember, Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. And of course, suffering and fear and angst and whatnot are, they may not be completely the same, but, at least they are somehow correlated to each and another. But still, it is all a mind thing, And the whole problem is when you're feared and or concerned or when you worry, this does indeed, to a pretty high degree, impair you in terms of the things that you actually are willing to do. I mean, if you kind of, fear that you're not going to be able to make it, whatever it is about, it doesn't matter. This is probably not going to give you even more energy and whatnot to actually do the fuck that you have to do or want to do or should be doing. But on the contrary, it is probably gonna impact you in a negative way so that you, maybe even work or do less than you should be doing, which then is some sort of a vicious cycle. That's the vicious cycle of doom, as I like to refer to it, but you know what I mean. This is then, you already maybe fucked up your time management, whatever it may be, and then you get worried and, it gets worse, it's getting worse, and it is getting even more worse, and in the end, you completely fucked up, and wasn't nice, wasn't good, wasn't amazing, but yeah, it is unnecessary, it really is, you cannot do more than you can do, and you cannot be better than you are. Period. You are you, and you also should be you. Unless, of course, there are certain things that people there, people of which, does this make sense? And I think it doesn't. People's opinions that you appreciate, there are probably going to be certain people that you just, that mean a lot to you, they're not just unimportant and whatnot. And of course, it makes sense to listen to them. And it really does make sense to then change something. If they say, well, you are a fucked up person, you should do this, that, and the other thing, well, and if it is just multiple people that you care about, well, you probably should do something about that. But unless this kind of happens, and of course this is once again a mind game. If you do not see it, you do not see it. But if just some stranger comes up to you and is bothered by your, attitude, by your positive attitude, should you then become an asshole? Well, probably not. Probably shouldn't be doing that. Probably it is not a good idea, nor is it useful to then change in a negative way, so to speak. But anyway, worrying. Let's actually Google what Google is saying here. Worry. Feel or cause to feel anxious or troubled about actual or potential problems. He worried about his soldier sons in the war. Well, I would always worry about that. And I think, it is definitely always about perspective. Of course, if I'm concerned about not getting an A in a test, well, is this comparable to somebody being concerned or worried about a person that is in war? Well, probably not really. Probably this is just, worlds in between and something entirely different, even though I do want to point out and I do want to underline that this is highly subjective. Of course, when I feel like that X is really important to me and Y is fucked up and I really am pissed about that, then this is just the case. This is how it is. Which is one of the reasons why being like, okay, other people have it worse than you just does not work. It is not good advice. It is not something they should be telling anybody. There's no sensical reason why you would be doing that or why you should be doing that. How much worrying is too much? Worries, doubts, and anxieties are a normal part of life. It is natural to worry about an unpaid bill, an upcoming job interview, or a first date, but normal worry becomes excessive when it's persistent and uncontrollable. You worry every day about what ifs and worst case scenarios. You can't get anxious thoughts out of your head, and it interferes with your daily life. Interfering with your daily life should probably also mean if it is making you unhappy. Of course, negative feelings are important. Negative feelings show us certain things that we wouldn't see otherwise. But if it is impacting your life in such a big way that you cannot do normal shit, then you probably should think about a solution for that problem, which, of course, it's not easy. I don't want to say that. You may take your negative feelings out on the people closest to you, self-medicate with alcohol or drugs, or try to distract yourself by zoning out in front of screens. Chronic worrying can also be a major symptom of generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, a common anxiety disorder that involves tension, nervousness, and a general feeling of unease that colors your whole life. If you're plagued by exaggerated, yes, this is how you pronounce that, worry and tension, there are steps you can take to turn off anxious thoughts. Chronic worry is a mental habit that can be broken. So why is it so hard to stop worrying? Negative beliefs about worry, positive beliefs about worry. How to stop worrying? To 1, create a daily worry period. Create a worry period. Choose a certain time or end place for worrying. It should be the same every day. For example, the living room from 5 to 5:20 p.m. Of course, you should kind of not schedule it in 10-hour increments or something. This wouldn't be too smart. And early enough that it won't make you anxious right before bedtime. During your worry period, you are allowed to worry about whatever's on your mind. The rest of the day, however, is a worry-free zone. Which really does make sense. And I just thought about whether you could apply this to other parts of life as well, and I think you can. But of course, do this. Best thing to do so is by talking to a doctor, talking to a psychologist, talking to a psychiatrist, and just not doing things too fast. I guess just being conscious about upsides and downsides of whatever you're just trying to do, and doing your own research and informing yourself so that you can also ask better questions when you're talking to your doctor / therapist / psychiatrist and whatnot. Write down your worries. If an anxious thought or worry comes into your head during the day, make a brief note of it and then continue about your day. Remind yourself that you'll have time to think about it later, so there is no need to worry about it right now. Also, writing down your thoughts on a pad or on a phone or computer is much harder work than simply thinking them, so your worries are more likely to lose their power. And you clearly see that they really, well, not really, but sometimes we then see that whatever we are worried about does not make any sense. It's not something that we should be worried about, something that is so detrimental and so incredibly bad and whatever. And a lot of it is the mind. I mean, if I think, well, if I do not pass this test, I'm gonna be completely broken. I'm just gonna die or whatnot. No, it's just gonna be fine. And maybe this is how things were meant to be. And this reminds me of a Stoic thought, which is amor fati, love faith. Whatever happens, love it. And you should be fine with it. And actually not only being fine with it, but indeed loving it. Whatever happens, whether it's good or bad or something neutral, something that's up for debate. Be happy about that and love it. And I'm just thinking about things that I don't know, maybe were bothering me the past weeks or something. And indeed, I mean, thinking about the fact that this is what it is, and this is maybe how faith is, and well, I should love it, really gives you a chance to think through the positive aspects of whatever happened to you. And this is amazing. This really is tremendously amazing. So think about that. Go over your worry list during the worry period. If the thoughts you wrote down are still bothering you, allow yourself to worry about them, but only for the moment of time you have specified for your worry period. Tip number 2, challenge anxious thoughts. All or nothing thinking. Well, anxious thoughts, what I'm seeing that is cognitive distortions. It's not cognitive disorders, no, cognitive distortions, as far as I remember. So we're, for example, having all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, focusing on the negative while filtering out the positives, coming up with reasons why positive events don't count, make negative interpretations without actual evidence, expecting the worst case scenario to happen, believe that's the way you feel reflects reality, holding yourself to a strict list of what you should and shouldn't do, labeling yourself based on mistakes and perceived shortcomings, assuming responsibility for things that are outside your control, i.e. the weather, which was my addition to the sentence. How to challenge these thoughts? During your worry period, challenge your negative thoughts by asking yourself, what is the evidence that the thought is true or that it is not true? Is there a more positive / realistic way of looking at the situation? What is the probability that what I'm scared of will actually happen? If the probability is low, what are some more likely outcomes? Is the thought helpful? How will worrying about it help me, and how will it hurt me? What would I say to a friend who had this worry? Which is the basis of it's not my theory, but my thought around trying to be your own best friend. What would a good friend of yours say to you? And then saying this to yourself, in terms of things that, are bothering you, maybe not being able to, not being able to make something happen or achieve something. Well, you're young. You're having still a lot of time left, for example. Or maybe this is just not something that should happen. When one door closes, another one opens. Maybe you're just not meant to have that right now. Maybe this is gonna be happening later on. Do not worry. Life is as short as life seems to be. I think it is actually quite long. It has some time. 24 hours is some time as well. There's these periods of time that we're having available for just doing whatever. It is quite something. Distinguish between solvable and unsolvable worries. Research shows that while you're worrying, you temporarily feel less anxious. Running over the problem in your head distracts you from your emotions and makes you feel like you're getting something accomplished. But worrying and problem solving are two very different things. Yes, indeed, they are. Is your worry solvable? Productive, solvable worries are those you can take action on right away. For example, if you're worried about your bills, you could call your creditors to see about flexible payment options. If the worry is solvable, start brainstorming. If the worry is not solvable, accept the uncertainty. Do you tend to predict bad things will happen just because they are uncertain? What is the likelihood they will? Interrupt the worry cycle. If you worry excessively, it can seem like negative thoughts are running through your head on endless repeat. You may feel like you're spiraling out of control, going crazy, or about to burn out under the weight of all this anxiety. But there are steps you can take right now to interrupt all those anxious thoughts and give yourself a time out from relentless worrying. Set up and get moving. Take a yoga or Tai Chi class, meditate, practice progressive muscle relaxation, and try deep breathing. And the last one, I think, well, not the last one, but talking about your worries, very important. Practice mindfulness, and so on and so on and so forth. This is probably going to be it with this episode. I do hope that I've been able to share certain things that are able to help you to deal with your worries and anxieties and things that are bothering you, things that you wish to be different. And I will see you the next time. So, bye-bye.